You're listening to the Tumbling Saber Podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Network.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to episode 41 of the Tumbling Saber podcast, where we commence week 3 in the life of the Star Wars Commonwealth. And what is the Star Wars Commonwealth? Well, I'm glad you asked, guys. It's basically, the Star Wars Commonwealth is... Star Wars Commonwealth consists of us here at Tumbling Saber and our friends over at Talk Star Wars and Generation X-Wing. And we've decided just to band together a bunch of misfit podcasting outfits, standing together and trying to help promote our shows, promote our work, and share our love for all things Star Wars and vintage pop culture stuff. And really, Mark over at Talk Star Wars is really doing the Lord's work here in getting the whole thing up and running. So. If you check out Star Wars Commonwealth on iTunes, you will be taken to the network page. There's also the hashtag on Twitter, the Facebook page. It's all over the map now. So wherever you find us, you'll find Star Wars Commonwealth. And hey, cheers to week 3, boys. And that's right, the SW Commonwealth Twitter account. Is it SW Commonwealth or is it Star Wars Commonwealth? Gotcha. And we're now just 95 days away from the release of Rogue One as we record this. And less than 2 weeks, 13 days, a baker's dozen until Rebel Season 3 drops. And James, I noticed on your Facebook page that... you said you were looking for a copy of Rebel Season 1, so does this mean some binge watching in your future?
Yes, sir. I'm taking the dive. I was unsuccessful so far in securing a copy of Season 1, but I don't think it'll be a problem. It turns out there's still a video store open near my parents' house, which I honestly didn't think there were any video stores still open. I thought once Blockbuster closed here in our part of the world, I thought that was it. But apparently my dad still rents video, so I'm going to go check out and see if I can get my hands on a copy.
There's few and far between left. I caught myself explaining to my daughter what Blockbuster was. There's an empty shell of one not too far from here. And I said, Harley, do you know what this store used to be? It was Blockbuster Video. And do you know what they do there? Well, you go there and you pick a movie and you bring it home and you watch it and then you bring it back. And she was like, oh.
You know, that's a sad thing about society in a way today, because I so fully remember you and I as children going to the movie store with our parents, being very young, being children of the 80s as well. The cover art in the 80s was extraordinary. And just going aisle by aisle, row by row, back and forth, and just perusing it all till you see something that just calls to you, you know? And it's kind of a beautiful thing in a way. And it's tangible, you know? And things like that are going the way of the dodo. And it's also kind of like a cool cultural phenomenon as well. Like, I don't know where your parents live, James, but I find it's very geographically relevant in a way. If you kind of live more in, like, not so much, like, I'd say more a non-populated area. I find it more frequent than being in, you know, a more urban setting.
Yeah, they're suburban. They're in they're on the South Shore. They're Chateauguay, but I know what you mean. Generally, the people who live in cities probably are more tech savvy than the people who live in the country.
Yeah, and it's also the spread of technology out that way, right? It's the last place to get the high speed internets.
True.
So yeah, the streaming quality may not be up to snuff in the outlying regions.
Fair enough.
And Corey, I think it's worth mentioning that you did indeed find a little toy shoved down the throat of old vintage Rancor monster. Why don't you run? I don't know if I think we mentioned it last week. I know we talked about it, but I don't recall if it was on the show or not.
I don't think it was on the show. It was us discussing afterward. And yeah, I was with my son today, and I was actually looking for my old ball mitt so I can give to him. My first ball mitt that I ever got, I still have it. I was like, let's go outside. We're going to go play some pitch and catch. And then I saw the Rancor in the box, and I said, I'm going to have a look just for fun. And I'm showing my kid what it is, and I'm explaining it. And I gave it a good shake. This time I gave it a good, I haven't seen this thing in probably 2-3 years. I gave it a good shake, and there was something rattling around in the bottom. So,
well, what was your first thought? The first thing, were you like, oh my God, I hope it's a Star Wars toy?
No, I thought it was going to be, honestly, first thing, I thought it was going to be a piece of a G.I. Joe, like a head or an arm.
Fair enough.
Something along, I thought it was going to be an arm for some reason. That's what I had in my head.
At my house, that would have been a Lego.
Oh, God. Have you ever stepped on a Lego?
Every day.
I got 3 kids.
Every day I step on Lego now. Harley's got a case full of it.
Quick side note, I actually saw on the Lego website, they've got Lego-proof sandals or slippers that they sell. For real. Check it out.
That's classic.
That's pretty handy.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than getting up in the middle of the night to go get a glass of water or go check if the front door is locked, what have you, and stepping on a piece of Lego.
Agreed.
That's the worst. It's not as bad as getting a piece of eggshell in your egg salad sandwich, but it's right up there. So Corey, continue. What did you haul out of the Rancor's gullet?
Yeah, I gave it a good shake and it's jammed in there. It's really jammed in there. So I managed. It took me about 30 minutes to pry it out of the beast.
Delicate procedure.
I've documented this thing as well. I took photos, so maybe I'll post them on Twitter.
Yeah, you should post these to Twitter.
So I pull it out, and it's a circa 1987 Battle Beast. I don't know if anyone knows what these are. There's these little animals suited up in armor, and if you rub the little patches like the Decepticon Autobot badges, they would
it was a little heat-sensitive sticker.
Yeah, that would show their elemental power. Let it be water, fire, earth, or wind, I guess. And I remember having a few of them, and yeah, I remembered having this guy. It was Killer Koala. Just complete blast from the past. No arms.
Yeah, you sent me the picture, and I was like, whoa. I had completely and utterly forgotten about those toys. It wasn't that long ago that I spent a good couple hours on the internet just Googling old toys from the 80s and unearthing a few toy lines that we had collected and had completely forgotten about. But those ones slipped through the crack. I didn't even remember those at all. But as soon as I saw the picture you sent, I was like, oh my God. And then I Googled them and looked through a few other pictures. And, oh man, a few of the other figures, I was like, oh my God, I remember that guy and that guy and that guy. We had way too many toys, man.
Yeah, that brought me back to Army Ants as well. I was big on Army Ants in kindergarten. Yeah,
we had quite a few Army Ants as well. Anyway, enough.
But it was that was a shocker. I couldn't believe it. After all these years, I've had that thing, I've lugged it around, and I just can't believe I never really went that extra effort and gave it that extra shake. Maybe it was destiny that we talked about it. If one good thing comes to this podcast, there it was.
Well, this is the high point of the podcast. There we go. What's been revealed from our Rancor's gullet. Now we know, and you can feel free to turn off the podcast. It's all downhill from here.
That's it. That's the highlight.
That's
before we move on, I want to point out that Corey said he wanted to play pitch and catch. We say that here, but in the rest of the world, I think they say catch.
Yeah.
But it is a thing we say here. I say that too. Corey. We're going to go play pitch and catch. But I think that's a Montreal thing or a Quebec thing or maybe a all of Canada thing, but I'm not sure.
I usually just say, let's go throw. Is that valid anywhere?
So you're unique. I think
the reference point should be Field of Dreams when he says, brings a tear to my eye every time. Let's go have a catch.
No, you're right though. Whatever's said in Field of Dreams, that should be the reference. The gold standard of what you're doing when you put on a baseball mitt and go throw the ball around. Actually, James, we played 3 weeks ago, my shoulder still hurts.
I believe you because I went and shot my mouth off and told a bunch of guys on my team that I could throw the ball. I think I told you this, from home plate over the center field fence, which is really far. And then I went out the next day and tried it a bunch of times, and my arm hurt for days.
Yeah, I don't know how. I can't do that. I don't know if I can do that again. I love doing long toss, just to see how far you can bomb it time after time. But if it's gonna hurt like this for 3 solid weeks, I may not do that again.
No, you're just out of practice. The long toss didn't hurt me because I play regular. You would have been fine if you played once a week.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you got to work yourself up to that for sure. If that takes training.
Incidentally, I just want to quickly, while we're on baseball, I got to give a shout out to Chaps for winning Series 1 of our Beer League softball championship on to round 2.
Here. Way to go, guys.
Yes, sir.
Very cool. All right. I guess with that, we can dive into the galaxy far, far away. First thing that came up, boys, this week, actually came up today, so we'll lead with that, was Lupita Nyong'o. She's revealed that she's yet to film her episode 8 scenes, which I don't know about what your reaction is, but I think that's pretty surprising.
I think it's really that's significant news, to be honest, in a way. Just in the sense that it kind of gives away the fact that her role is probably going to be more limited or not exactly hands-on. Doesn't mean that the role itself is not going to be significant in the movie, but it's going to be a very small role. Like, she's not going to, and it's only probably going to take place in reshoots or maybe later on. There was another theory also that said, they'll team up with whoever else they're going to have her film with in secret after the fact. But I think the one thing we can take away from this really is, again, maybe Mark Hamill will be doing reshoots.
No, he won't be. He shaved his beard. He's done.
Okay. So there you go. That's what we can draw from this. She will not be shooting with Luke. There will be no scenes between or interaction between them two, most likely, unless it's like a hologram and Luke's already filmed his scenes. In regards to that, speaking to someone else. But
maybe. I think, see, this story came off of Star Wars Newsnet, and they picked it up off, I think, an interview she gave with Collider from the Toronto International Film Festival. And I think the big takeaway is that, like what you said, it makes it pretty obvious that Maz Kanata is not going to have much of a role in Episode 8. Not that she had a major role in The Force Awakens, but it looks like she may even have less of a role this time around. James, what's your take?
For some reason, when I read it earlier, my first instinct was it has something to do with technology. It has something to do with motion capture or software or something that they're waiting for. I don't know. That's my instinct.
Fair enough.
No, yeah, I kind of see where you're going with that, but I don't feel that. I think it's just more her role. Like I said, I don't think it'll be. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be a significant role in the sense that it's important what she has to say, but she's not going to be in the film for 30 minutes.
See, yeah, I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. I think that they could plug her in because of the nature of her character. They can plug her into all of the scenes she could be in the whole movie. They can plug her into every single scene.
She's a really hot actress right now, and they used her to her full potential as a motion capture in this, in the sense that she was Maz Kanata, like, aside from her face, she was acting alongside the actors. Yes, I don't think they'll take her to a CG in a CG fashion,
Well, no, wait.
Well, I think what Corey's saying is that the way they did it is Lupita Nyong'o was on set, and she was on her knees. She was doing the whole, like, being the same height as Maz Kanata. She had her face painted up with the white dots. So unless they changed the entire method of capturing the character, the fact that she wasn't on set to do the scenes probably means that she'll record at one point and be inserted into a minor scene somewhere in the film. I think that's what you can draw from this, unless something's completely unforeseen.
I went back to, sorry, yeah. that's why I was saying I think it's going to be a totally different, or what they're waiting for is a technology. Because I don't think they're going to shoot it the same way if they're going to include her in this movie. And what she didn't say was they left me out of episode 8. She said I didn't film my scenes yet. So, I mean, obviously, one option is she's got a tiny part, but I don't know. After the way, wasn't there, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but my take was there was a bit of not a fan backlash, but a general feeling of disappointment that she wasn't in The Force Awakens more. So Disney, with their hand on the pulse the way they seem to, don't you think they'd if anything want to include her more, not less?
That makes sense because what we believe we know about the rewrite, the pretty significant rewrite that Episode 8 underwent, was to include more of the characters from The Force Awakens that we all fell in love with. And we assume that to mean Rey, Finn, and Poe. It could also very well include Maz Kanata. And maybe she was not... I don't know if Lupita Nyong'o originally signed for 1, 2, or 3 pictures, but I don't think it would be a stretch to think that originally she wasn't going to be in the movie at all. And that they've managed to insert a small role for her here just to get her face on screen. And I mean, to something to the point Corey said a few minutes ago, she doesn't have to say a lot to have a significant impact in the movies. She just drops little truth bombs, little nuggets of wisdom and past history. And
how did she get the tumbling saber? Ba, ba, ba.
Or a good question for another time, I suppose. I wonder how long she can keep ducking that question. I guess forever now that Han's dead. Who else is going to ask her?
Well, Luke would probably be pretty curious.
He probably would be, but I don't see those. I don't see those two being on screen at the same time. At least not in episode 8. One.
But I would think if her role is any role she would have, I would think was going to be pretty significant either way. Not lengthwise, but wisdom and sageness wise.
Well, her relevance to the movie was to Rey, was to instill in Rey the thought of the Force and embracing her potential. And like I just finished saying, I don't see Maz doing a scene with Luke, and by extension, I don't see her doing a scene with Rey. So who is Maz going to be doing a scene with? Is she...
Chewie.
Well, she's a pretty popular character in the galaxy. She's got a lot of connections, so she could be helping them out in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
they may need something moved somewhere, or they may need somewhere to hide, or
a
friend somewhere.
True. And I think she was cut out of the movie to the point where she only is seen on Takodana. But in the actual script, and I think in the novelization, which I still haven't read, she accompanies the Resistance back to their base. So she's there. So she maybe that's it. She's in the fight now. She's since her castle's wrecked, she's gonna just squat with the Resistance and put a roof over her head that way. So maybe she's with Leia and whoever else happens to be with them. Maybe that's where she slides in.
I don't think you would call it squatting though, man. I think you would call it leading. Like, she would be a valuable asset to the Resistance.
Valuable asset, yeah. Leader, no. I wouldn't see her as a leader.
Somewhat leader. She'd be like a Guinan from,
I would see her as an advisor to a leader.
Yeah, an advisor.
No, I could see her hanging out with Leia. We saw in the early trailers Maz's hand giving Leia the saber. So I think the implication from that scene, even though it's cut.
Leia?
What's that?
She was giving Leia the saber?
Don't you remember the trailers?
Or Rey? Yeah, I do. I thought that was always Rey.
No, that's Maz's hand. Go back and watch. You could see the bracelet. If you catch it in just the right second, it's clearly Maz's hand.
How would that have worked in the film if she was giving it to Leia?
It's when they first got to the Resistance base. It's before they left to go to what's the name of that snow planet? Starkiller Base. It's before they left to go there. So Finn is the one that takes it with him, right?
Jesus.
So there you go. Interesting. Anyway, before we move on, it's an interesting piece, I think, that to me points out that she's probably not in the movie very much, which isn't a shock.
It's definitely something significant that we can actually now put into the puzzle. Somewhat. Speculation.
It's a very small piece to the puzzle.
Yeah.
Moving on. Did you guys see those the new vinyl edition of A New Hope, the soundtrack coming out, the picture disc one?
I did indeed.
Man, it looks sick.
Did you see it, James?
I didn't.
You didn't? Oh, dude, it's so dope.
Is it in our? I don't know how I missed it. Is it in? Someone must have linked me to it.
Yeah. It's just
the link was
there's
in the
not
show
much
notes.
for me to say on it, but Kyle's the audio file of this group.
What's that, James?
Yeah.
The link is in the show notes?
Yeah. Yeah, so I took it off Nerdist.com. And it's a 2-disc set, but double-sided, so really 4 sides, but it's just stunning artwork applied to the vinyls. And they ship in sort of a clear sleeve, it appears. And what's crazy about it, and I'm not a huge vinyl nut, although I have a turntable and I have maybe a dozen records. The Star Wars soundtracks are ones that I always try, at least make a note that I'm going to get them. I don't have the prequels, I don't have the Force Awakens yet on vinyl, but they're on my Amazon wish list. Like I'm going to get them at some point. But now, like this, I have to get this. It looks so cool.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It's amazing. They're beautiful.
Like the Death Star one is too
really,
cool.
Yeah,
the detail
stunning.
on the Death Star one is amazing.
Yeah, and the one I particularly like is the one with the X-Wings on it from that artist. It's John Berkey, I think, is the name they mention here in the piece. And I have the full version of that poster. Like that's just a small snippet of the poster that they took.
Yeah.
So the original poster that shipped with A New Hope back in 1977, like I still have it. It's in pristine, perfect condition, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't know if I should just leave it folded up in the vinyl sleeve, in pristine condition, or if I should take it out. And I have a friend who runs a framing shop, and I would.
There you go.
I would entrust it to him to do the right thing with it. But I don't know.
That's what's his name? He married Dune.
He married me. Yes, he did. He officiated my wedding. There's the terminology. Yeah. So a friend of ours owns a framing shop, and so I would give that to him. Actually, I've already entrusted him with some Star Wars posters. I gave him the my Yoda IMAX from Attack of the Clones. He did a nice job with that. And that hasn't been, I haven't hung that up since we moved into this house. It has not been hung up on my wall yet. I don't know what I'm waiting for. I have so much nice Star Wars stuff that just hasn't been hung up yet. So I'm totally gonna snag this new A New Hope set at some point. I hope, as long as Amazon carries enough stock, I'm good.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. And just, I had a few questions for you, Kyle. Like, this is kind of interesting, actually. You and I both you're currently working at this company, and I had worked there close to 15 years ago. Very, very, very big, ambitious company with some really, really, really cool kit, some really cool stock, like all kinds of musical equipment and audio stuff. And when I was there, I became obsessed with this stuff, and I remember, like, I think I spent retail. This stuff would have went for about $3,000. Like, I bought a sub, some nice speakers, like this really sick receiver, and I'd hooked you up as well. You one up me on everything. You got the better model of everything, and I was like so upset about that, but that's for another day. But either way, like now, like you appreciate when you're around it all the time. You appreciate it, and I was always curious if you were a big vinyl fan or not, and if you can hear the difference in a way. Like you with your, like the speakers you have are really high end. So do you notice like a big difference or a small difference or something that's drawing you more to vinyl than listening to a CD?
Vinyl has a warmer sound. That's all I can really say about that. If you want to get into the science of it, not that I'm that deep in that, but I haven't seen any real science that says here's why vinyl sounds better. That, to me, that science doesn't exist.
Familiarity, that's why. People are more used to it, that's why it sounds better to them. If digital had been invented first, vinyl would be laughed at if someone invented it now.
You're probably right. Vinyl is now, it's more about the experience, the intimacy with the disc, the artwork, and the blah blah blah. And I appreciate that.
Me too.
But again, it's not like I don't go running out to buy vinyl to replace or to have vinyl versions of all my favorite bands. It's maybe I'll do it for my very select few favorite records. I'll make sure I have copies on vinyl and CD. But otherwise, I'm not going to go crazy for it.
Similarly, you know, it's kind of funny. I really sometimes yearn to hear the wind and the crank of a VHS.
I do not miss that.
I really
can safely say that.
I do. I really honestly do.
But again, that's nostalgia, right? That's not because it
exactly.
It doesn't.
No, it's a nostalgia thing, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's, I'm not taking away from that. There's something to be said for things that bring back nostalgia. I love all that stuff, you know. But it's in terms of vinyl being audio, the audio quality being better. The best argument I've ever heard is some people prefer it, and fine, for preference, you can't argue with that. But there's no, like Kyle said, there's no science that says that in any way that you can prove that it's superior. And in fact, I mean, unless you like the sound of like slight needle scratching and static, then digital's better, you know?
Yeah, and I think if you want to bring science into it, I think I'm pretty sure the science is that, you know, CDs and high res downloads have a greater dynamic range than what you find on vinyl. But again, it's all subjective, right? If you like the sound of vinyl better, well, that's the medium for you. Go for it. If you like the scratches and
you
pops,
know what's kind of funny to me?
Enjoy it.
You know what sounds more like magic to me? Like, to me, it's totally comprehensible for a DVD and a CD to work. But when I watch a vinyl and it's like a needle touching some kind of plastic or whatever, and it's making music, that's always kind of fascinated me.
Yeah, they're super cool. I totally get the whole tactile feel to the whole thing.
But dude, Corey, you're not wrong. But the needle in the DVD player is a laser.
Yeah. No,
hey, this is a Star Wars show, man. We should be fully supporting the lasers on a Star Wars show.
Exactly.
I'm going back to the first temple.
Of course you are. Damn dirty hippie. All right, so let's lean in here to Rebels a little bit. There was quite a bit of Rebels news that came out in the last little while, including this bit here, where the first 6 titles for episode or for season 3 have dropped, and that came out from we got this off making StarWars.net, of course, and they got it from Jedi Bibliothek. I believe it's a German site. So they've run down the first 6 episodes. They've uncovered the titles. So we have episodes 1 and 2, which is Steps into Shadow parts 1 and 2, and that airs in a couple weeks. And then episode 3 is the Holocrons of Fate. Episode 4, you're gonna like this one, the Antilles Extraction. Episode 5, Hera's Heroes. And episode 6, The Last Battle. Corey, I'll let you have the stage here. Is there something that jumps out at you as, wow, this sounds heavy?
Yeah, I love it. It sounds extremely heavy. I love this show. I'm so stoked. I cannot wait till Saturday night. It's going to be such a good popcorn night. I'm going to be stoked all day for it.
How much popcorn
But
can you
first
cram in your
episodes-
face for like half an hour?
No, it's just the smell more. It's the nostalgia thing. You wouldn't get it, okay?
I guess not.
Anyway, no, the first two, okay, 1 and 2, Steps in the Shadow. How beautiful is that? Like, first of all, I want to mention like anything Star Wars. Like, James, this is one thing you're gonna notice when you start watching the series. Every episode is. I love titles. You guys might remember that from last week, but they're all so beautifully named.
Okay,
And
just
Steps in the Shadow is.
okay,
a
before you
direct
say anything,
playoff.
stop.
Yeah.
Before you
Okay,
say anything,
go,
just
go,
I want to, as a layman who knows nothing, I want to take a guess. Is Steps in the Shadow? Does that insinuate that Ezra's going to be like tempted by the dark side? As a guy who knows nothing, is that like a very obvious title?
Yeah, in a way, like that's the way I'm kind of looking at it. Like the last episode we saw was called The Twilight of the Apprentice. So after Twilight comes Shadow, you know, like everything's a play on words with Star Wars, and I love it.
But so
Like,
that was
he's
your
taking
instinct
his-
too. It's probably his. Yeah. Okay. I thought it was probably obvious.
for
but I'm like,
sure.
maybe I'm clever.
Definitely, it's gonna be, and the best part is it's gonna mean more than one thing as well.
It usually does. Yeah.
Once we see the episode, we'll be able to talk about that, I'm sure. So that's 1 and 2, which is gonna be great, and then the Holocrons of Fate. I have actually quite a bit to say about this one in the sense that, you know, we have the 2 Holocrons in hand now.
Get
but I
cozy, people.
don't
Corey
think-
has a lot to say.
Not that much, but I think it's relevant to say that what we've seen in the trailer so far, I don't think that we're going to learn about these holocrons, but I think what we've seen in the trailer about them merging and whatnot, I would think that they're going to save that more to the end of it. It seems more like a climactic thing, but who knows? Maybe they'll get rid of the way right away, which would be odd to me to just jump right into it like that, but it would also be awesome. And then we got Wedge coming in right away, which is amazing. Hera's Heroes kind of reminded me of Hogan's Heroes. I don't know if that rang your bell too.
Yeah, it did. And it wouldn't shock me
And then-
if Filoni had some kind of Hogan's Heroes toned episode.
But the last one, episode 6, The Last Battle, that sounds pretty imminent to me, pretty dark. Like something significant is going to happen in that episode, I would think. So all 6, just I can't wait.
Yeah, they sound fantastic. There's nothing there that doesn't have me stoked 100%. So I mean,
The Last Battle.
obviously we'll be talking a lot more Rebels in the next couple weeks, and certainly once the shows start dropping, we'll definitely be reviewing them. We'll continue ahead here with Rebels news with the return of Bo-Katan coming in from the Clone Wars, and she wasn't in too much of the Clone Wars, but she had a little cult following of I guess anybody who wears Mandalorian armor is going to have a cult following. But I was actually quite pleasantly surprised to see Bo-Katan coming back, and I also 100% sure, or as close to it as I can be, that I read somewhere at some point, not from like Reddit, that Bo-Katan was Sabine's mom. And now I can't find reference to that anywhere, which I find very suspicious. I don't know if I had better memory, I would know for sure, but I don't. So all I can think is that that's been scrubbed, and they're going to reveal it as these episodes go along. I'm sticking to that theory, but for sure I'm happy to see the Mandalorians getting heavily involved for season 3. Anything you want to say about that, Corey?
Well, there's a lot to be. It's really interesting news, and like again, it's a Wills of the Force kind of thing. Friday night when I got home at about 11 o'clock. There was nothing on TV, so I started watching some stuff I had recorded on the TV. It was about like 6-7 episodes of the Clone Wars, and it just so happened to be that story arc. And then I read the stuff the next day. So it was all fresh in my head, which was just so awesome. Like, it was so cool. So, basically, we know this season that Sabine is going to meet Fen Rao. And the episode, The Protector of Concord Dawn, she says, I'm House Wren. Like, Sabine tells these guys this, I'm House Wren. And then they're like, oh my god, she's Death Watch. So Death Watch was referenced in these episodes, and Bo-Katan is part of them. Bo-Katan is also Satine's sister, who is heavily involved with Obi-Wan, in love with Obi-Wan.
They were a thing.
Satine, Sabine. Like, there's something going on there. Plus, she's only, 1 or 2 years older than Ezra, from what we gather. She's definitely older than him, by maybe a year or two. So it puts it right in that perfect time range. And, you know, it's a perfect way to draw Obi-Wan back into this, because she's going to want... Maul killed her sister. She's going to want some kind of revenge. Also, the fact that Maul, last we saw, he had the Darksaber. We see Sabine with the Darksaber in the trailers for Rebels Season 3.
Yeah, it's safe to say that all these things are converging. Because Maul had taken over Death Watch. If you recall, he became sort of their leader after he beheaded Pre Vizsla. And at some point, I think one of the untold Ahsoka stories was Ahsoka leading Rex and a group of troops and ousting Darth Maul. I may have some of the details wrong there, but I think that was the general gist of the story. So what became of the Mandalorians, of Death Watch, the Darksaber? Does Bo-Katan have the Darksaber? Is she the person that passes it on to Sabine? Or do we meet Maul at some point again, and he still has it? And this could go anywhere.
Well, that was the best part about this is the last we see of Maul is Emperor Palpatine like killing his brother and just playing with him, like just beating him severely till like Darth Maul is literally crying and begging for mercy at the hands of Palpatine. And that's the last we see of him.
Until Rebels.
Yeah, well, that's the last we see of... yeah, exactly. So what happened in that time frame? Because Palpatine himself even says... Like, I saw this on Friday night. He says, I have plans for you. He says, I'm not going to kill you, but I have plans for you. And he's just zapping him with his Force lightning. And that's the last we see of him, which is incredible to me. But again, I haven't read Sons of Dathomir.
Yeah, I believe that's the follow-up to that story arc, which I haven't read either. But it's totally interesting how they're going to bring all this together, because this is one of those loose ends from the Clone Wars that people want tied up, and we keep seeing petitions every so often for people that want the Clone Wars put back on TV so they can wrap these things up. But Rebels offers a pretty good opportunity to close up some of these open story threads, and I'm glad to see they're going to do that here.
Bringing her back can definitely bring Obi-Wan back, just because of the close relation between himself and Satine. And Satine and Sabine is too close to be a coincidence for me.
You're probably right. I think it could be a coincidence, but I think, regardless of the names, the actual links between them, there's got to be something there.
No, she's Death Watch, so...
Yeah, no, I think we're going to find out more about Sabine and her family.
Yeah, and Thrawn's going to be interested in that as well.
Most likely, for sure. All right, so let's move on from Bo-Katan. Definitely looking forward to seeing her back. But a couple weeks ago, so we could have talked about this last week, but we punted until this week. Some character notes that had come out about Ezra and Thrawn and Darth Maul. So, Corey, do you have those images handy?
Yep.
Okay, you read. my throat's already killing me.
Sorry, man. I had my show notes handy. I do not have those notes handy on hand. I just got my show notes.
All right, I'll strain my throat a little bit more.
The sacrifices
we do for these podcasts, my God. All right, so Ezra's strength in the Force continues to grow, but so does his recklessness. After the confrontation with Darth Vader on Malachor, Ezra secretly worries he is powerful enough to defeat the dark side. Now 17 years old, he becomes more daring as the rebel missions become more dangerous. He is rising in status in the rebellion and gaining more responsibility. To me, the whole thing sounds very reminiscent of Anakin. who's a teenager, and he's getting more and more powerful, and he's also becoming more and more reckless. And it also completely mirrors Luke, which is, I guess, not really too much of a shocker. Any teenager, I think, would be reckless, right?
That's just a perfect description. Where I like the fact that they're saying that. I always, I can't believe I forget his name, but the general to the Rebel Alliance right now at this time period, he's kind of a bit of a dope. What's his name, Kyle?
Commander Sato.
Yes, Sato. When Ezra's rescuing him in one episode, like Ezra's like, "I got this," and he like charges down the hallway with this saber, and Sato looks at the troops like, "He's got this." It's perfect, you know.
For somebody like James, who's coming into Rebels pretty cold, it's pretty easy to get into the character of Ezra based on that description, because it sounds so familiar, right, James?
Absolutely. But I mean, at the same time, it sounds like every 17-year-old kid I teach too. Like it just makes sense for those characters to be struggling with that stuff, because that's just like human nature. Probably why we like them so much.
Absolutely, for sure. I mean, any teenage character, even Ahsoka was reckless at certain points, defiant and not out of control, but a bit of a loose cannon. So yeah, those are all hallmarks of a teenager / young adult. But it also makes the character super relatable.
But Ezra's got a little more on his plate than the average kid as well. Like, plus the backstories. The backstories always play into things as well. The upbringing.
Yeah,
and he's a significant character in the long run.
I guess. Well, you know what? If his force power continues to grow, and there was that clip that came out, was it Thursday or Friday, which I shared to our Facebook page, where you see Ezra take over using the force. They're obviously pinned down and under siege by an ATST. And Ezra uses the force to get into the driver's head, and he turns the driver against his own troopers and starts firing upon them. Now I wonder, is that a sketchy use of the force? I mean, I guess we can get more to that later, but
no, now's the time. It's like chaotic good. Like, obviously, it's going to be a representation of how he's struggling, and you know, he's walking this fine line, having opened the holocron, and his curiosity's peaked, and he obviously thinks the Sith do have a few good points, probably. Because he does care deeply for his friends. But
yeah, I mean, is it all fair in love and using the Force, so to speak, when you're stuck in a bind? It's fair use of the Force to get into someone's head and start making guys fire on their own troops.
I'll say this. I'm going to harken on to, because I don't know enough about this particular story arc, but I'll call on one of our Commonwealth friends and fellow podcasters. The guys over at Talk Star Wars were talking about a listener question similar to this last week, and the question was something along the lines of, someone wrote in and said, you know, a Jedi would use a shovel to dig a hole, whereas a Sith would use a shovel to smash someone over the head. And you know, as I listened to it, I thought, that's one way to look at it. But I thought, a Jedi, I think, would use a shovel to dig a hole if a hole needed to be dug. I think if someone needed to be smashed over the head, and a shovel is what a Jedi had, then they would smash you over the head with it, to save someone's life or whatever. So I think the way the Jedi use the Force is, whatever's appropriate at the time. And if that was the best, and the best way to save someone or do the right thing, then I don't see it as the misappropriation of Force powers. That's my opinion.
The ethically gray part of it is getting into somebody's head. I think that's the part that people go, oh Jesus, Ezra, that seems sort of sketchy.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're going to go, Corey.
Well, basically, it's Yoda tells him when he has two meetings with Yoda in season 1 and 2 on like astral planes within temples, which are awesome. And both times it's kind of Yoda being wise and asking like, why do we fight? And anyhow, like, just It's so hard to describe.
Well, now you have to describe it because we're all waiting.
Give me a minute. I don't know how.
I mean, I don't want to have to edit out this whole segment because you can't make a point. No pressure or anything.
We'll see. Yeah, thanks for that.
Oh, that's a good way to get them to edit it out.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought totally.
All right. Well, then now that Corey's dropped an F-bomb that I've had to edit out and has lost his train of thought, I guess we'll move on from Ezra, who sounds like he's walking that fine line, but I think we all expect him to dabble a little bit too much in the dark side sauce. But we'll move on from him for now. And
I brought up my show notes, Kyle, or your show notes, just
yeah, I've got them up too. If you want me to read a section,
well, perfect.
There's 3 of them, so we can each take a turn.
Yeah, perfect. So Corey, you can read Thrawn, and James can read Maul.
Sounds good.
I love how a plan comes together.
Okay. Let's do this. All right, Grand Admiral Thrawn, a methodical, tactical genius. Grand Admiral Thrawn is summoned to govern Price and the growing. Sorry, it's so small. It's so small.
Come on, it's not that bad.
Thrawn is coldly analytical and values information above anything else. The only officer in the Imperial fleet of Chiss descent, Thrawn earned his position through decisive victories where he used his brilliant mind to thoroughly outmaneuver his enemies. Yeah, nothing really new there.
No, nothing really new there at all. That's exactly what the character was in Legends, and that sounds like exactly what they're going to do with him here. They're just kind of placing him in a different part of the timeline that we're used to, as people who used to read the expanded universe stuff. But I wonder can you go too far in making a guy super smart, super analytical, super tactical? Like it seems like I guess you could make it very easy to keep this guy and as many steps ahead as you want, just because you want to make him come off as super smart. But there's got to be a limit to it, right? I don't know, James. What do you think? Can somebody be written as too smart?
It's tough in the Star Wars universe to get into so smart that they see moves, so many moves in the future, because then they could be paired up against someone who can actually see into the future. You know what I mean? Like to out clever
yeah.
In a universe where there are people who have visions and see the future and foretell things is a dangerous special skill to give him. You could write yourself into a corner, I think, by making that his, and also it as you were saying that, I was thinking it sort of limits him if he's so analytical that is that his like crippling weakness. Like he'll never think of this because he'll approach it from an analytical standpoint, so he won't think of destroying the ring, if you know what I mean.
I do. I think I see what you mean, but I wonder how long they keep this guy around for. Because if he's that smart, this is the guy that should eventually run the Empire. Like if he's that smart, he should be able to swipe the throne.
To be in control of the Death Star.
Yeah, because they've gone out of their way to make this guy sound like the smartest person who's ever lived. Well, shouldn't the smartest person who's ever lived be maybe closer to the top of the food chain?
You know what happens to really smart people or people with a lot of skills is that jealous people kill them.
Well, that's what they used to do. What was the name of that game show with that dominatrix-esque host? The Weakest Link.
Yeah.
When it got down to like the final 3 people, the 2 dummies would vote off the smart one because they knew they couldn't beat him if it came down to 1-on-1. So yeah, you're right, James.
There's an out there for sure.
Anyways, I don't have much to say about Thrawn. I think anything more I would say about Thrawn, I would put my foot in my mouth more than I already have. So, James, why don't you read Maul's little synopsis? Because I think that's the meatiest one of all.
Maul.
Yeah.
Now freed from the dark depths of Malachor, Maul is running amok in the galaxy. Driven by a decades-long thirst for vengeance that risks clouding his sanity, The restless former Sith Lord hopes to heal old wounds by completing a task he should have done long ago. Though Maul has found that the galaxy has changed much in his exile, the dark side trickster knows where a few secrets are buried. I like it.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is
He wants to kill Obi-Wan.
something like that. Yeah, probably.
Well, that's got to be the decade-long thirst for vengeance, no?
It could be that. It could be, in the season finale of season 2, he says all Sith and their Inquisitors are my enemies, and going back decades is when Sidious would have been abusing the hell out of him too.
Yeah, that's how the last time we see him in the Clone Wars, James, is he's literally, you've seen how strong, well, this guy, he's so incredibly strong, and he sounds like a whimpering puppy dog, like just begging for mercy.
Interesting.
It's really, it's something. He gets his butt handed to him.
Yeah, I mean, it's written in such a way that it is designed for us to have this conversation.
Fair enough.
Who is Maul out to get vengeance on? 'Cause I don't know. I haven't read Sons of Dathomir, but I don't know that Maul knows that Obi-Wan is still alive. And if anybody's listening knows that for a fact that Maul is aware that Obi-Wan is still out there, definitely let us know.
But he's a smart cat. He's a really smart dude. For sure he'd probably have a sniff,
Then Obi-Wan hasn't picked a very good hiding spot.
I don't know, but these guys, Force-sensitive people, seem to be aware of each other to an extent too. No, couldn't he sense it?
Well, I mean, Darth Vader flew over Tatooine and didn't sense his master right in the planet beneath him.
Fair enough.
And maybe now,
you know what? I've always kind of looked
Vader
at that.
Has a mental block when it comes to Tatooine.
Exactly.
Like, he just doesn't want anything to do with it.
He didn't want it. When he flew over Tatooine, he was like, "Oh man, we're coming full circle. It's the beginning." I'm sure he had visions and all that stuff. I'm sure he avoided Tatooine.
Plus, Obi-Wan was basically unfindable with that code name.
Ben.
Kenobi.
Unreachable. Well, yeah, exactly right. Couldn't even be clever enough to change his last name.
One thing I gotta jump in here just for a sec. Basically, in the Clone Wars, I was never. We've talked about this before, and I was really kind of a bit upset that they brought him back, but they did it kind of right. I just can't believe he still survived and all that. I'm still on that train a bit. But once he did come back, he's established again, and I want to see more of him. I've forgotten all that. They've literally brain wiped me, so I'm cool with it now.
Well, yeah, he was completely one dimensional in the Phantom Menace, and he was cool. He was badass, but very one dimensional. And I think they've done him a good service in bringing him back, and they've actually given him some depth and some growth as a character. And they've taken away that blunt object status from him and given him the characteristics of a planner, of somebody who's got a brain in his head.
Think of it, as soon as they cleared his mind of the demons that he had and his robo-octo body, whatever you want to call it, and they gave him a real set of legs and they cleared his mind, within no time was he a major player in the galaxy. He really ruthlessly made his way to the top right away. He went to the Hutts. He went to all kinds of people. It's Black Sun. It's yeah, you're all working for us now. We're all a conglomerate co-op.
No, you're right.
But it also I told you back in the past too. We were debating this when we discussed Twilight of the Apprentice. I have a good feeling he was on Malachor for quite some time. I'm saying years of time. One of the Inquisitors calls him the Shadow. It's almost as if they know he had escaped and he's out there. and yeah, he was stuck there for a while, and that's what they say, freed of his chains of Malachor.
It's interesting. Did you say he was called the Shadow? What does it say about Ezra's? Doesn't they say something about a shadow in his little description?
The first 2 episodes are called Steps in the Shadow.
Yeah, nothing about Shadow in Ezra's description.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
the first
Sorry,
2 episodes are called that. But the coolest thing I really took away from this is like more lore, in the sense that he says he knows where a few tricks are buried. So first of all, he found this awesome, incredible cinematographic whatever temple. The Sith temple was so beautiful to me when I saw it in Twilight. It still to this day, it blows my mind when I watch the episode. So he found that, and if he knows where a few other like this holocron he has was, this temple was a weapon. It looked like almost another Star Killer if they were able to activate it in that episode. So whatever other tricks he knows that are up his sleeve, who knows? But having Satine come in on this too, because she obviously hates him. And the last time we saw him, having the Emperor...
Satine is dead.
Sorry, Bo-Katan, her sister. But my main thing that they played on at the end of Rebels, the last 2 seasons, is, what is power? Power is knowledge. Why is he seeking all these things? Why was he on Malachor? He wanted power. Why would he need so much power? And the only, like, is it to find Obi-Wan, or is it to rule the galaxy and defeat the Emperor?
Well, again, we don't know if he knows about Obi-Wan, and he states straight up that he wanted to activate that Sith temple, get that thing online as a weapon, so he can go wipe out the Emperor and Darth Vader. I don't know if he said that verbatim, but it was pretty clear he wanted to go knock off.
Yeah, he said the Sith are my enemy.
Yeah, so the frontline, I guess, target for Maul is Palpatine and possibly Darth Vader.
Yeah, they're the 2 guys who stand in his way.
Exactly. So we have no idea if he knows about Obi-Wan. But he could have possibly heard whispers, and he's following a trail now. I look at the wording, and again, Wise Man once said that nothing related to Star Wars is written by accident. Wise. And he is.
That guy's wise.
So he hopes to heal old wounds by completing a task he should have done years ago. There's clearly layers to that question, but the next sentence is what's interesting to me. And though Maul has found that the galaxy has changed much during his exile, the dark side trickster knows where a few secrets are buried. Now, that could be just clever play on words, where they're alluding to the fact that he does know where Obi-Wan is, and he's hidden on a dusty, sandy planet. You know, you paint the image that he's buried in the sand there on Tatooine, and that could be what they're hinting at. But I'm wondering if they're talking about what's on Jakku. Because now that I'm finished Life Debt, and I know you guys haven't read it, but one of the big takeaways from the book is that Palpatine was on Jakku at some point, or had people working for him on Jakku looking for something, digging for something, and finding it and building a research facility there. Now, does Darth Maul know about this? And it's very possible that he does. Because the setup to that storyline takes place in the prequel era, where it's completely reasonable to assume that Darth Maul knew something about it. So I wonder if Darth Maul is going to take us.
And what is it exactly?
We don't know.
You don't find out.
We don't find out.
Wow.
But whatever it is,
but
I have thoughts about
the lore
what it is.
Factor.
What's that?
It's amazing. The lore factor. I love it. That the way they say that he know. To me, it's like he knows more about the Sith heritage in a way, the past of the Sith, that could gain insight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, Palpatine is not going to share it more than he has to, because if he can hoard the power and the knowledge to himself, he's, why give that away? But if Maul knows a thing or two, and he's reckless and hellbent on revenge, well, he's going to use it in whatever way he needs to. So I'm left wondering if Darth Maul is going to take us to Jakku in Rebel Season 3, which seems almost preposterous to suggest. But there's clearly something buried in the sands of Jakku, and the Sith are totally in on it. So I wonder if Maul, our good buddy Maul, is going to try and go claim it for himself.
It's a good point. But rounding it all up, just tying it all together, I don't think him and Bo-Katan are in this and the Darksaber. It's all going to tie together. Sabine's heritage, possibly bringing Obi-Wan back. It's the perfect way to lead him back into this. Like, it can all tie together nicely. It's a nice story arc.
Oh, for sure. This is the perfect way to draw Obi-Wan back in. It's been, you guys have heard me talk about this incessantly since we started doing this podcast, that Maul and Obi-Wan need to get it on again. There needs to be round 2 or 3 or whatever we're at now for these guys. And I would bet my last dime that we will get that rematch again. Which I guess leads us to Corey's Twitter poll.
I'm actually really, really stoked about this one.
Yeah, tell us all about your poll of the week.
Talk about your poll, Corey.
All right,
Corey, talk about your poll.
I don't know if... Let's do it.
One day Corey can talk about the poll from my bachelor party. Maybe you can tell that story one day too.
Yeah, you let me tell that one. It's a good one.
That's a good story for another time, as Moz would say.
Yeah. So anyhow, it's been this is a month to the day basically that I've been starting these polls.
Happy anniversary!
My first poll. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been a whole month. Twitter, I love it, and I really have to say I'm loving it. Like, just the growth. We talked about it. It was first vote 11, 13. I think the last time we got 74. My goal this week was 100. I wanted 100 votes, and we came in at 104, boys.
Wow.
So this is substantial stuff.
You're 35 years old and your poll is still growing. That's fantastic.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening.
All right, so the question was, I'm doing this for the next until we got one more week, one more show. We're doing gearing up for Rebels kind of polls, and so the question was #Star Wars Rebels. Will we see Obi-Wan Kenobi in Rebels Season 3? And if yes, will Luke possibly make a cameo appearance? So you had possible 3 choice of answers. The first being yes, both Obi-Wan and Luke. The second being yes, but solely Obi-Wan. And the third being no, neither. That's saga sacred. So the results were really, again, interesting. I love it. The more votes you get, the more things change, and it's great the way it came on top. Like, I was really, really happy about it. So first of all, 23% of voters, so that's about 24 people, actually said yes, both Obi and Luke. And I'm on that. I'm on that train of thought. I want to see that. I think it makes sense, and I think we can make it work. Ezra and him are going to be buddies. Yada yada yada. 38% said no, neither. It's saga sacred. And a resounding 1% difference, 39% came in for the win and said yes, but it's solely Obi. And that's amazing to me. I love that he came out on top because he was down. Everything just changed. The more votes come in, it's just great. And the fans have spoken.
So 77% of people think Obi-Wan will be back.
You got it.
Which makes sense. I voted that only Obi-Wan would come back because, the other 23 people that voted that Luke will come back they're welcome to be wrong.
Plus Luke shaved his beard, so he can't be in the animated series.
Logic. No, to me it makes absolutely no. Like, if there's one character to me that is off limits for Rebels, it's Luke. I think his introduction in A New Hope is perfect the way it is. I don't see any need or reason at all, even as a cameo. I think even a cameo would be even worse than to actually have him do something. I just feel like there's no need.
I gotta ask you one question about that. I kind of agree with you in a sense.
Like, Luke should have no idea to what's going on in the galaxy. He has a sense of the Empire versus the Rebellion, but he shouldn't ever have a taste of it.
Yes, but that's the thing. You don't know how the episode's written. Like, what I would see is him and Ezra trying to keep Luke. Like, Obi-Wan telling Ezra, like, your mission is to stay with Luke, keep him safe, and not make sure he doesn't know anything. Like, just become buddies with him, kind of. Like, okay, picture this. James, for you. Not retconning, but a lot of people didn't like this, and they thought Leia was too Leia, being so young. But we've seen her. It's, the first scene in A New Hope, it's her feeding R2 the info, and that's a classic. That is Star Wars. But we saw her again. Like, I see it working, man. Do like a Beggar's Canyon thing, like just Ezra keeping him on the sidelines where the main storyline's going on. Kind of.
I have to agree with Kyle that Luke should have absolutely no taste of any kind of action or information before A New Hope. He's an innocent farmer who's never.
I agree with you guys there too.
They're all just stories to him.
I agree with you both there, but my point was that the way I want to see it in the sense, again, that they're just, like, Ezra's keeping him occupied while the main battle's going on, and Ezra's trying to keep Luke oblivious, and that's how I can see it working. And then, like, they're born on the exact same day. It would be perfect.
Yeah, I can't. If you're going to bring Luke in, you got to give him something to do. I just don't think you can just have him, like, bouncing around in the background, almost getting himself killed, but you got to keep...
Well, they'd for sure get into some mischief. Him and Ezra for sure would do something like teenager boys would do.
Well, I would have to call that a major failure on Obi-Wan's part. Like, Obi-Wan should be doing anything he can to keep Luke as far away from all of that as possible.
Unless Maul's in town and he needs to deal with something stat and make a...
I mean, the only way it possibly works is through Maul. The only way it works is through Maul, where he's on Tatooine. He somehow makes a connection that Anakin / Vader are from Tatooine. Somehow he finds out that Vader's son is there.
Well, he knows already. He was on Tatooine waiting for them. Like, he's not that stupid.
But he doesn't. But we don't know if Maul knows that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker.
He's smart enough to figure it out, I would think.
Maybe, but we don't know. Again, it's confirmed in one of the books. I think it's Bloodline, where the only people that know for sure are the Emperor, Leia, and Han, and Luke, of course. So I don't know. To me, it feels like the only way you could make Luke work in Rebels Season 3 is if Maul finds out that he's there, and that he's going to use him as a weapon to draw Obi-Wan out of hiding.
Yeah, that's it. It would be perfect.
But again, you could have Maul mention him and say this is what he's going to do, and have Obi-Wan stop him before he gets there. Because I don't want to see Luke on screen. Period. I think it'd be a huge mistake to put Luke on screen.
Well, my argument also is that you just said, like, Obi-Wan has a responsibility to Luke, and we've talked about this in past episodes where you said, well, if Obi-Wan's in it, I'll see him on another world fighting Maul. I don't see that. I see it more Maul hunting him down. I don't see Obi-Wan ever taking the chance to leave that world unless it's with Luke in A New Hope.
Well, and there's
he's
I mean, we
babysitting.
we could go around in circles, but we also have to wonder about the other group of people who don't want to see Obi-Wan versus Maul in Rebels. They want to see that resumed on the big screen. And I don't have a problem with that take either. I mean, selfishly, I want to take Obi-Wan versus Maul where I can get it. And if that's in Rebels, then I trust Dave Filoni and his crew to deliver on a major epic storyline. But if I guess if I had my pick, I'd prefer to see that resumed on the big screen.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I mean, James, where would you rather see that
Big
rivalry resume? In an animated series where you could do anything you want, really, or on the big screen where you're a little more limited?
No, big screen for sure. Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, well, first of all, I don't even watch the animated series yet, so maybe if I was up to date, my answer might be different, but I suspect no.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, selfishly, to me it feels like they're going in that direction, so I'll take it. But if no direction had been chosen yet, and somebody were to ask me, I'd say no, save that and put that on the big screen. I would kill to see Maul versus Ewan McGregor again. But anyway, that's we went from polls back into Rebels and Clone Wars and all this other stuff. How about a break? I'm ready for a break.
Dagwood sandwiches. Awesome.
Yeah, the caterers really
Beautiful
came through
stuff
tonight. So let's grab a quick break. We're going to hear from Talk Star Wars, and we'll come back and we're going to do some more Seinfeld skits. I hope you enjoyed them last week because I think we're going to do a few more here. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey guys.
Yeah?
We need to record a promo for the podcast. You got any suggestions?
Well, we need to keep it as simple as possible.
That sounds good.
Something like, if you like Star Wars and you listen to podcasts, you should check out the Talk Star Wars podcast on iTunes.
Or we could really motivate people to listen.
What do you have in mind?
Well, you could tell people they should listen to Talk Star Wars or they will feel the power of a fully armed and operational battle station.
No. You can't do that.
Why?
We can't threaten people.
Oh.
Steve's right. Simple is probably best. Like this. I'm Mark.
I'm Stephen.
And I'm Rob.
If you love Star Wars,
and you listen to podcasts,
then you should check out our show, Talk Star Wars.
You can subscribe to Talk Star Wars on iTunes.
And find us on Stitcher Radio.
And find full episodes of the podcast on our YouTube channel.
You can find the podcast and everything else we do at talkstarwars.co.uk.
And you can play with us on Twitter by following @TalkStarWars.
You should also head to facebook.com/TalkStarWars and like our Facebook page. Or we will strike you down with all of our hatred and your journey towards the dark side will be complete.
That's not cool.
I've said it now.
Head to talkstarwars.co.uk and join us as we talk Star Wars.
Or else.
All right, we're back, and it's time to do some more Seinfeld Star Wars mashups. We had such a good time with this last week, and we got some pretty good responses, so we're going to do it all again this week. And Corey, are you ready to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. If you want me to go first, I'm ready, man.
Do it.
All right, what are we going to choose here? All right, let's go with this one. This one's the longest one. Let's get it out of the way. It's called The Waiting Party. All right, so Vader and Palpatine coincidentally discover they share the same birthday and decide to hold the party of the century aboard the unfinished second Death Star. Uninvited, Luke and the gang take a depressed, longing for her frozen love Leia out for some exotic cuisine, cosmic cuisine. As they wait their seats, they ponder the galaxy's big questions. Chewie gets a little too hungry while waiting.
Nice.
What episode was that playing off of?
Waiting room.
The Chinese food one, right? The waiting in line at the Chinese food restaurant?
That's actually one of my favorite episodes because it's so good. He tells the guy, he's like, Jerry's like, we've been waiting forever or whatever. He's like, it's Seinfeld reservation. He's like, yes. I yell cut, right? You know come.
It's not Seinfeld reservation. It's Costanza.
Right.
It's Costanza.
By the way, he yells Cartwright.
Yeah,
I
Cartwright.
yell Cartwright. But it's that episode and the one with the what was it? The
Yeah, I knew you were playing off
cremanium?
that one, the Party of the Century.
With the Pneumanium and the where they booked that hotel for the party for the turn of the
But
century.
Newman actually booked it on the wrong date.
And then Jerry scuttles it.
Pneumanium.
All right, James, what do you
okay,
got?
so Han gets frustrated when he gets lost between the Milky Way and Mars while looking for the Twix system. Meanwhile, R2 is insulted when BB-8 calls him a close beeper.
Nice.
I love that response, Corey. I'm only going to go with shorter segments tonight. That's the end of this one. My next episode only has 2 also.
That's so good.
BB-8 being a close talker?
A close beeper.
That's pretty good. All right, I'm going to try and keep pace here. Palpatine and his advisors watch Vader's surgical procedure with a box of Junior Mints.
Nice.
And that's all I have for that episode. I thought that was good enough.
That's great. Oh, gosh.
Oh, man.
This is my favorite part of our show.
right.
I don't know what's going to happen once we tap out.
We'll just find another funny, we'll do Star Wars Simpsons or something.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
This is it for this week, or for this segment for at least another year, I would think. It's got to go in the vault.
Oh, you and your vault. Anyway, we still have to go around the table here. Corey, you got another one?
Of course, yeah. I got 3 more written.
All right, well, we're going to do, I think, a couple more.
All right, let's do it. All right, which one are we going to go with?
That's your call.
All right, let's get this one out of the way. This one's kind of cliche, but I had to do it before someone else did. All right, so this one's called the First Order of Soup. General Hux opens a trendy yet strictly regimented soup shop. Luke comes out of hiding as he has a vision that the soup shop has Yoda's original recipe for Dagobah soup. Leia finds a must-have rare Alderaanian antique armoire, but knowing Luke is on world, she must see him and asks Han and Leia to watch it.
Excellent, Corey. I was going to do a Soup Nazi one, but I couldn't find a way to dress it up. You did an excellent job.
Actually, both of you guys, I tried to find a play on the Twix, and I tried to find a play on Soup Nazi, and I just couldn't find a way to make it work funny. All right, James, your second entry.
Okay. So Krennic gets force choked after changing the stormtroopers' uniforms from plastoid composite to cotton for better breathability. Luke complains of shrinkage after spending some time on Hoth.
Nice.
And Han gets arrested for relieving himself in a loading hangar.
I could have died.
I have uromycetitis.
I love that episode. Oh, that's good. All right, here's my second entry here. Poe tries to get discharged from the Resistance by defacing rebellion memorabilia.
You did this one last week.
Did I? No,
Yes.
I told you about it. I didn't actually do it.
Oh, you're right.
Way to ruin it.
Sorry.
God. It was
Start
perfect.
over.
No. And the subplot to that episode is, fearing Leia's about to break up with him, Han starts screening her hollows, thinking, if she can't find me, she can't break up with me.
I love the screening the hollows.
All right, one last turn around the table.
All right, I'm going to give you guys a choice, actually. And there's something I'm writing into one right now because, James, you mentioned to us last week after hours off the pod that you should have threw in, and I just wrote it into mine now. Got 2 left. You guys choose. The title is either Cloak of a Frightened Turtle or Look to the Lembas.
I want to hear about the frightened turtle.
All right.
Yeah, okay, I'll second that.
Yeah, I thought Lembas. I wrote that specifically for you, James. But
I would have gone Lembas.
Anyway.
To be honest, I was disappointed, but I didn't want to, cause a debate and take up any more time. So just go with the turtle.
Oh
all right,
wait,
let's do it. Okay.
all right. Let's not belay the point. But I didn't pick up on
Okay.
lembas being that lembas bread. Oh, you can go with that one if you want. I don't care.
Well, I'm going to start with Cloak of the Frightened Turtle. Let's do this. Okay. Leia finally convinces a reluctant Han to meet her remaining and extended family at an Arctic bed, breakfast, and spa. He shoots first in an attempt to impress, however, inadvertently makes a comment about a species dear to the family's heart, possibly inciting the demise of a loved one. Luke gets caught in all his glory after having swam in frigid waters. Chewie has a bunch of Ewoks over that sleep in his drawer.
I love that.
Manya died.
Yeah, that was yours. I just wrote that in now. The Ewok thing, you talked to me about it last week. I was like, if he's leaving it out, it's gold.
Thief.
That was excellent, Corey. I think that was my favorite one. I'll bust right into my next one because then I've got to. Well, Kyle reads his third. I'm gonna run upstairs and grab a plug for the computer before it dies on me. But okay, so first up, C-3PO gets chastised for knocking younglings and Ewoks aside to escape a fire. Lando asks for the death certificate at Han's wedding so he can get half price fare home. And Corey stole my sleeping in drawers idea, so that's the end of my episode.
No! Did I?
All good, Corey. All
bro.
good, man. I'm glad you took it. But I won't listen to yours, Kyle, until the podcast because I got to run upstairs.
Cool. I love that James. He went with one of those. I was gonna do. Jar Jar is forced to confront his cowardliness after running from a kitchen fire. I love that episode. That is one of my all-time favorite episodes of Seinfeld. It's probably top 5. It's so good. Isn't that also the episode where George eats a pastry out of the garbage?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, it's another.
Or at least it's the same girlfriend.
Yeah, it's another one I tried to make work. I just couldn't. But I did make this one work. So I actually really do like this one. So Leia gets an idea for a hat that combines the spirit of Old Yavin with Coruscant big city panache called the Galactic Sombrero. And suffering from burnout and with a mind barren as the desert of Jakku, Palpatine flees to the jungles of Takodana. And what I like about that episode is that that's actually a Seinfeld episode, both the main plot and the subplot.
For sure.
I needed to work the urban sombrero in there.
That's a really good point.
And then
You want me to read my last one while James is out?
Yeah, why not?
You can read this. All right, let's do it. This one's called Look to the Lembas. You're going to love this one, Kyle.
I'm back.
All right, James, you're just in time. Look to the Lembas, baby.
Perfect.
Crix Maydeen and Mon Mothma hold a dinner party. Leia feels obligated that everyone bring something. Han's Tontex coat gets him in trouble, while Chewie cannot use his $100 Kashyyyk coin. The Falcon gets double parked by Jabba, and Luke uses the black and white Lembas cookie as an analogy to explain the dark and the light, and how they can coexist.
Nice.
That's a pretty good. That's strong.
Yeah,
Yeah, yours got stronger and stronger, Corey.
Good. See, 10 seconds, man.
I wanted to have Padme sitting in Jabba's box at the pod race, but wearing like the hat from another pod racer. I couldn't really make it eloquent.
And getting
It
escorted
was gold. There were.
Yeah.
What I'm really most happy about this project is that 2 times around the table, or how many, like we did 6, 7, none of us really doubled up I think we doubled up once, maybe. It was
No,
beautiful.
you're right.
Like,
Yeah, you're right.
like the fodder. It was really fun.
And no one touched the bet.
I think you did last week, no?
No, I have a play on it, but I haven't gone with it yet. Only
Yeah.
because the subplot involved Chewie resisting an urge to grill Akbar, which I think you had done like 3 times last week. So I was like, nah,
That's
I'm not
fair.
going to read that one. And also, I read it to Candace. She's like, nope, that's not funny. I'm like, like, what do you mean it's not funny? It's a play on like the contest. No, nobody's going to get it.
I love that episode. Remember Kramer? He's like, the girl across the street has nothing on, nothing. And Carrie's just sitting there watching cartoons. The wheels on the bus go round and round.
They're all so good. Anyway, I'm gonna read my last one. I'm gonna just blow out the tanks here.
Do it.
Do it.
Shmi chastises a local comedian for teaching Anakin to swear. And Jar Jar reveals his cowardice by running from a kitchen fire, which I think, James, you'd already done one.
Nice.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There's our Seinfeld Star Wars mashups, installment number 2. Will there be an installment number 3? I don't know. If you want one, let us know.
Yeah.
And we'll
Vault it. Well, let's do it. Well, we got to let our creative juices reconvene. We don't want to milk it, you know?
Well, if people don't want more Seinfeld ones, maybe they want something else. So, if you've got an idea, send it in.
Absolutely.
Lord of the Rings.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, let's grab a quick break again. We'll hear from Gen X-Wing from the Star Wars Commonwealth, and then we'll jump in with a couple random thoughts.
Love those guys.
There are a lot of great Star Wars podcasts out there, including... But we at the Generation X-Wing podcast discuss things in a unique way.
Oh, I'm so happy I can't even feel my arms.
Generation X-Wing podcast takes a look back at pop culture that defines our generation.
Look, sir, droid.
From movies,
I think I read somewhere that Kurt Russell thought that, this is really like Indiana Jones. But to me, watching it just fresh today, he was really Han Solo.
to TV.
There's a Nova Scotia show
What's the
we
one?
could bring up.
What is that?
Trailer Park Boys.
Oh, okay. It's not Trailer Park Boys.
You know what? I think that's a whole episode.
It is. I'm just gonna say it's very
Okay.
Canadian.
Okay,
And I love it to death. So does Anil.
From collecting
Silent Mike is back.
Silent Mike is back in batteries.
1970. Oh,
And the Twix?
And he just dropped it on Wayne Gretzky's rookie card. Good man.
This better be a good Twix.
And of course, we discuss our wonderful Star Wars universe.
I am so thrilled today because I have been invited by the Outer Rim Garrison, the 501st Outer Rim Garrison of Vancouver, BC, to walk with them in the Canada Day Parade in downtown Vancouver.
So once you're done listening to these great people here at... Come over to the Generation X-Wing podcast with your hosts, Anil Sharma.
That is gonna be a shame.
Josh Whittle. Peace. And Rob Williams. Pork chop sandwiches. It is a modern look at your retro lifestyle. Follow us on Twitter at GenXWing, on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on our homepage at generationxwing.com.
And we're back. Just heard from Gen X-Wing. Go check them out on iTunes, on Facebook, and Twitter. And thank us later. And for now, we're going to move into our random thoughts and listener input section. And by the way, there's no listener input this week. And I don't know what you guys are up to. I don't know if you guys were a little busy this week or maybe not busy enough. But there was no questions in the inbox this week. And I'm a little crestfallen over that. So let's pick it up for next week, guys. Please, come on. And with that, we're going to let James run with his random thought about toilet paper. And I don't know where this is going. I'm a little bit afraid, but I'm also excited. James, take it away.
Yeah, I just put it in the show notes as I think the toilet paper random thought. So I wanted to keep you guys a bit in the dark. Coming off that Gen X-Wing commercial, just another quick shout out to the boys in the Commonwealth. I listened to a couple of their shows this week. And if you haven't yet, do yourself a favor and tune in. They're quite entertaining. Okay, so toilet paper, random thought. So I was thinking about something bothers me about the prophecy, the balance to the force prophecy, is the idea that time is infinite. So Kyle and I talked a little bit about this, and that's not what the toilet paper thing is about. But just quickly, I have a problem with bringing balance to the force, because to me, balance would be like a permanent thing. Now it's balanced, and since time's infinite, that's an awfully long time for it to remain balanced if it was once unbalanced. And I've got a whole sub sort of plot thought on this that we can get into on another show that I've been sort of writing about how there's probably no such thing as balance to the force, and the person who fulfills the prophecy will be the one who recognizes that and realizes that the force is always balanced, and using the force in a balanced way is acknowledging that the force is balanced. But my toilet paper thing is about time. So you know how everybody sort of realizes that or seems to feel that time passes more quickly as you get older. Years, sort of speed by in your 30s compared to how they did in your teens.
Absolutely.
Do you guys have that sensation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's scientific fact. It is. It does.
That time passes more quickly?
Well, no, time always passes at the same rate.
But
a second in
perception is everything for a child. Do you remember back in the day traveling to the cottage? Are we almost there? Like time, I saw this on Discovery like a while ago, but for a child, their perception of time is different than an adult.
Oh, of course. But a second in 1982 is the same second and same length of time as in 2016.
Yeah, but
we
it
think
feels longer as a youngling.
Of course.
Well, it feels longer. Probably the answer to that is probably just perspective relative to how long they've been alive. A second is a longer piece of time. A second is a shorter piece of time.
It's
in
interesting.
Your life. But to put it in a really neat visual, someone explained this to me. It's not. I can't take credit for this.
I see where you're going already.
At all. But if you imagine a sheet of toilet paper is, I don't know, say a day. You can make it a minute, you can make it an hour, it doesn't matter. One square of toilet paper is a set amount of time that, like Kyle said, would be the same in 1982 as it is, today. So with that, if your life is represented by a massive roll of toilet paper, don't think of the kind that you have in your bathroom, but think of the kind like that you see in an industrial bathroom, or even bigger than that. Think of the
a big one. I got
most giant roll of toilet paper you can, and every sheet is an hour of your life. So from the day you're born, those sheets would come off at a constant pace, 1 hour for every hour, or 1 minute for every minute, or whatever those sheets represent, right? And the size of the toilet paper squares don't change. And so at the beginning, when you're taking those hours off, one square at a time, the roll would be spinning very slowly. But
it gets quicker and quicker.
Your perspective on the life is like the rotation, not the size of the paper, which is the same every time, but the rotation of the wheel. That's your perspective on life. And as you get older, the wheel's spinning faster and faster. This, for me, is just an awesome way to sort of put a physical picture on this thing that really bothers me about why my perception seems so off compared to years before. What do you guys think about that?
No, it makes perfect sense. Absolutely,
100% sense.
It's a great analogy, eh?
It really is. It's a spool.
So it's like a giant spool, and the older you get, man, when you get down to those last sheets at the end, like every time you take one off, you're basically spinning that wheel around once.
Exactly. The RPMs are at a high rate.
Yeah. Someone 2-3 weeks ago, someone gave me that little, nugget of, call it whatever you want, and I wanted to share that with you boys. I thought that was random enough for our show.
Yeah, I love it.
No, it makes perfect sense. 100%.
Life is fleeting.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Yeah,
good thing we have Star Wars.
A good thing.
Yeah.
I would be completely lost without it. I don't know what I would be talking about, what I would be podcasting about if not Star Wars.
Sports.
Probably sports, I guess. You're right.
Dude, that was like... You owe me a beer.
Oh man, so is that it for the show, guys?
I got a question for you guys. I had a fan ask us this week.
A fan?
Quickly.
We had a fan ask us this. Oh my god.
Hi, Mom.
To be honest, he's a fan of the polls.
Hi, Dad. Oh God.
So he's loving the polls, and I told him, I directed him toward the show in the Commonwealth and all the great chaps out there. And he had a good question for me, and he said, and eventually, like, I'm going to post it. I think it's going to be the first one I post after Rebels comes out. So this is coming out there. Get prepared. For you boys, James, we're going to start with you. What's a more disturbing scene? What hit you in the feels more? It's a two-part question. Feels what hit you in the feels?
All of your polls are two parts, right?
Yeah, we got to make it like that. We got to think. We got to move the needle. You got to use the space you have to work with, the tools you have to work with.
Okay.
By the way,
Fair enough.
Okay, what hits you in the feels more? The scene where Ren jabs his pappy through the heart, being Han Solo, or Anakin executing Order 66 with the younglings in the temple. What is more? What scene is harder for you to watch?
You know, if I had seen the prequels as a father, my answer might be different. But I'm more attached to Han, so I'm gonna go with Han. Was more, but both are pretty. You know, as far as pulling heartstrings, those two scenes do it pretty well.
I'm going to say Han as well, and I guess for a couple of reasons. One being that, like James said, the three of us, I think, are more attached to Han. We've all grown up with him, and secondly, not that I would have expected George Lucas to do anything different, but you don't actually see what Anakin does to the younglings, and I think that has an impact.
No. Yeah, it does. That's the point.
You watch Han Solo die. You see the life come out of his face. You see the lightsaber go right through his heart. You're kind of right there with him. Whereas in Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin ignites the lightsaber, that's it. It's end scene, and we cut elsewhere. I think that has an impact.
Yeah, the ambiguity of it doesn't do anything for me. Like, we all knew Han was going to bite the dust in this movie, and the way they did it was great. Trust me, like, it hurts to see that scene, but in the sense, when I look at it in the sense of what's harder to watch, and James kind of said it too, like, now that I'm a father, it's harder to watch that scene. Just when they tell him, they're like, well, what's going to happen to us now, like, Master Anakin? And
this is going to happen.
His saber. He just ignites his saber, and then end the scene. You're like, gulp.
Well, like, and that's it. I mean, you know what's going to go down, so you can imagine it. But there's a difference between imagining it and seeing it go down. And again, I don't think it would have been appropriate on any level to show, well, he's Vader at that point, to show him cutting down children. I think
no, they wouldn't do that. But just the ambiguity of it doesn't make it any less real to me.
Well,
it's harder for me to watch that scene, to be honest.
To me, it feels a bit more like, the destruction of Alderaan and the plight of the Naboo people as they were being blockaded, and the death toll is catastrophic. I don't see it. I don't feel it. Out of sight, out of mind. I can't get on board with what, just because you're telling me the death toll is catastrophic, doesn't mean I have to buy it, because I don't see it. You haven't given me anything to go on other than some bad dialogue. And the same with Alderaan. It's a planet we never visit, and we're only supposed to feel empathy or sympathy for it through Leia. Otherwise,
and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's got some great acting in that.
Yeah. Alec Guinness
in that scene, actually,
has to take a seat because he's felt a terrible disturbance. But it's you really do, I think, need to see more than we were given for those to have the impact that you need.
They didn't do much better in The Force Awakens, they gave us one shot of them seeing a flashing light come at them, basically. Didn't you say, Kyle, that some of that footage ended up on the cutting room floor?
Footage of the girl in that scene.
So in theory, that would have been footage on... what's the name of the planet, the system that was destroyed?
Hosnian Prime.
Right, Hosnian Prime.
Not
Hosnian
necessarily. There was footage of her shot at the Resistance base, I believe.
Oh, okay. So they were never planning on giving more, and I agree with you. If they would have just let us meet a few families and seen some kids play on whatever Hosnian Park looks like, I think you'd be more attached to that planet when it blows up.
Yeah, just a few faces, right?
Hosnian Prime School, show us kids and puppies and the stuff that's going to make us sad when it's gone.
Well, there's a study, and I'm not going to look it up because I'm too lazy, but when it comes to charities, when they advertise that, support a child, there's X thousands of starving or diseased, sick children in blank part of the world. If you just trot out numbers, especially huge numbers in the thousands, the idea is that you're supposed to go, oh my God, I got to help. If there's that many kids, I got to do my part. But those types of messages always fall flat. Like it's a poor call to action because there's no personal hook. So now
they have the reverse effect too. People go, well, oh my goodness, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah,
that's such a huge problem.
Yeah, it's a huge problem, and my $3 is going to have no impact. So I'm not going to do anything. But so now charities reverse it, and they always focus in on 1 or 2 or 3 people that need your help. And so you feel a connection towards that person specifically and say, well, geez, there's a story I can relate to. Let me give some cash. So now virtually all charities give sort of a much more personal story rather than look at this huge global problem.
Yep. So that's all we would have needed. Just some, and it's hard. I mean, look, the movies, they got to streamline it. I get it, but in order to hit us in the feels, as Corey likes to put it, and I like that expression. We needed to have a little invested in that planet before they blew it up.
Yep. And I thought Rogue One. I thought Rogue One would have been a good
watch, man.
With the kids,
I want to see Han. Like we knew he was gonna go, and it was the perfect way, touching his son's face. Like it's a good movie going experience. Like when you see Anakin ignite the saber and become Vader, like I don't know, there like that kid's face, like what are we gonna do? Like, and then the onslaught. Obviously, we don't see it, but again, not seeing it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Well, of course,
that scene is just like
it did happen. But again, like when it's not, at least for me, I mean, I guess everybody's mileage will vary, but for me, like I need to see it in order to feel bad for it. And I do feel a certain degree of, oh, Anakin, that's rough, man. That's pretty low. But
you gotta like turn your head almost.
I would have felt much better about that scene if they had given it kind of the Lor San Tekka treatment, where you could just do a far off shot and just see Anakin give a couple swings.
Oof.
No detail. Just so you get the tempo of what Anakin was doing. Because even Lucas backed away from that even with Sand People. Right? And that would have been another perfect opportunity to show Anakin falling down the dark rabbit hole. You could have I don't think there's any reason except for time to cut out showing Anakin laying waste to the Sand People. But anyway, I digress. So is that it, gentlemen?
I think we hit a number there. I covered all the bases.
Indeed.
We moved the needle.
Did we?
I hope so.
Well, depends where it was to start.
True. All right, boys. Well, let's wrap it up there. Corey, where are you at?
I'm at Chop Rules with a Z on Twitter, and I also want to say a quick shout out to Mark and everyone in the Commonwealth, Rob, both Robs, Steve, everybody, like Anil, Balint, they're all doing. Like, I'm so enthralled to be a part of this network. We really came together, man.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we'll say a bit more as we close the show for sure, but definitely echo your sentiments there, Corey. James, where can we find you on the Twitter machine?
Yeah, I'm at Tommy Bombadil1, and I agree with Corey. I know you're gonna shout them out hard on the way out of the show, but made some good friends through the little Commonwealth. Chatting it up with those guys all the time, so it's fun.
Absolutely, and you can find me at Tumbling Saber. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, and I think as far as the Commonwealth goes, I think Mark set up a Tumblr. So if Tumblr's your thing, check out Star Wars Commonwealth on Tumblr and start following us there. Boy, oh boy, this is gonna get long in the intro now. So check out Talk Star Wars and check out Gen X-Wing. Their podcasts are both well worth your time every week. And if you want to get in touch with us, it's of course you can do that anywhere: Twitter, Facebook, by email. Kyle at tumblingsaber.com is another way you can do that. And until episode 42, have yourselves a good week, and we will talk to you soon. Bye for now. I really hated the outro.
You want to do it again?
No.
Self-redeeming qualities, have they hindered me? Hindering, was I blind to see that you needed me? All of me, well, you were there for me. I will be there too, watching, listening, every moment, wanting all of you. And I believe I can save you. Just don't let me go. And I can see I'll be waiting, always waiting. Just don't let me go. Just don't let me go. Time goes on and I'm questioning all the things I've seen, crazy things I've seen as I'm watching you walking away from me.